Washington, D.C., the 1970s. A few miles away from the White House, we're at a high-profile swingers club. Every week, couples come here to trade partners and have group sex. Senators, Pentagon officials, CIA officers, they're all here. And recently another couple has started showing up. The man is Carl Kocher, tall, loud. He walks around the room naked. He's weird and desperate for you to notice him. Then there's his wife, Hannah. She's quiet, reserved. But when she walks into a room, the room stops.
Let me just tell you, Hannah Kocher was gorgeous. She could have seduced any of you in this room if she set out to do it.
Some of the men who take Hannah to bed have security clearances. Some of them even work at the CIA. But none of them know who she really is. A Czech intelligence agent. Her husband too. Today I'm going to show you how these Czech spies penetrated American intelligence, literally, got a real American asset killed, and then walked free.
On the one hand, they went to sex orgies in part to develop sources to give them intelligence.
Was this your private pastime, or was this part of the espionage effort?
There certainly was no sex involved in espionage effort at all.
Before the sex parties, the Czech intelligence had to find the perfect moles, and they started with a troubled youth. Carl Kocher, born 1934 in Bratislava, Czechoslovakia. At 16, he's arrested for stockpiling guns with a group of friends. One of them later shoots a soldier and gets hanged. Damn, they don't mess around. Carl walks, but Czechoslovakia's secret police, the STB, open a file on him. A file that never closes.
He was one of those megalomaniacal people who believed in himself and only himself.
He gets a job teaching mathematics and physics at a high school, and that is where things get worse. Carl is handed a suspended sentence of up to 2 years for morality violations, a party scene at his apartment, and the presence of underage girls.
At that point, I was really in big trouble. And it was becoming very clear that they would like to set me up and hopefully put me in jail.
So they offer him a deal. Work for us and we'll make the charges disappear. Carl takes it. For 2 years, the STB teaches him how to be a spy. And in a basement in Prague, they teach him how to beat a lie detector. It'll be the most important thing he ever learns. He gets his code name, Pedro. Then they give him his first mission.
I asked them what would be my mission. And they said, well, we want you to penetrate the CIA. And I just looked at them as if they were crazy. I mean, it's a huge professional organization. You want me to penetrate the CIA. And so I said, well, how am I supposed to do it? And they said, well, Carl, that will be up to you.
But Carl won't go alone. Hannah is coming with him. She's 19, 10 years younger than Carl. She's also the daughter of a senior Communist Party official. The STB give her code name, Adrid. They're quickly married on November 22nd, 1963, and shortly after, they're on a plane to America. Carl and Hannah arrive in New York City in 1965. They are what's known as sleepers, agents who are sent abroad to build a life first, before they make their move. Carl's first job in America is at Radio Free Europe. From there, a fellowship at Indiana University and a doctorate of philosophy at Columbia.
I suggested that, in my opinion, the very best way to get hired by the CIA was to excel in the graduate school and simply use American meritocracy as a stepping stone.
But while Carl builds his CV, Hannah is building something else, a cover. She gets a job in the New York diamond trade. It gives her a reason to fly to Europe regularly, carrying large amounts of cash.
She was able to travel to Europe on a regular basis, and she could use that as a cover for action to cover why she would also be a courier to make contact with the Czech intelligence officers in Europe.
This isn't Carl's solo mission. Hannah is the silent engine keeping the gears turning, while nobody suspects a thing. In 1971, Karl becomes an American citizen. He's now eligible for a CIA security clearance. And the following year, in 72, 7 years after landing in America, he sits the CIA pre-employment screening. First, they test his Russian.
His Russian was really superior. It was better than some of his co-workers who were actually native speakers.
Then, they polygraph him.
If you are strong-willed and concentrate on things that are unrelated and pleasant, you don't show any panic.
So he passed all the tests, background check, psychological testing, polygraph. Those are your only defenses against an infiltrator.
Karl is hired as a contract translator for AE Screen, the CIA's Soviet and Eastern European unit. His job is to translate raw intelligence in Russian and in Czech into English. Wiretap phone calls, intercepted cables, and documents stolen out of the Soviet Union. With no redactions. He sees it all. But Karl's day job is only half the operation. At night, 2 blocks from the White House, there's a restaurant open called The Exchange. Most people walk past it without a second look. But if you know, you know. You climb a carpeted stairwell. At the top is a room full of music and cigarette smoke. A giant screen, an L-shaped bar, and a photography booth where members photograph each other's body parts. This is Capital Couples, Washington's most exclusive swingers club, and everyone inside has something to lose.
During the course of their swinging activities, they came in contact with people in the military services, the intelligence community, Pentagon, the CIA, and so on. And Karl Kocher was very, very active in soliciting information from the people in those positions that he was swinging with.
Karl and Hannah are regulars. Karl works the room, Hannah works the bed. She finds out who's working in sensitive positions, who's cheating on their wife, who's doing drugs. And after every party, Karl and Hannah go home and write it all down. The intel makes its way back to the KGB, and it's all put into a file that can be used for blackmail later.
The thing about the Kochers was that they carried out their spying activities with a maximum amount of pursuit of pleasure.
Pleasure at night? Yes. But one day, whilst Karl's at his desk job at the CIA, a classified file comes across his desk. A file that will cost a man his life. Alexander Ogorodnik. Ogorodnik is a Soviet diplomat in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but secretly, he's been working for the CIA. Codename, Trigon. For 2 years, Ogorodnik has been photographing classified Soviet cables with a miniature camera hidden inside a pen the CIA gave him. His reports are so important, they go straight to the President of the United States.
The deepest secrets are those given to us by technical and human sources. And once you lose access to those sources, you can lose wars.
Karl Kocher never sees Ogorodnik's name. That's not how it works. What Karl sees are the classified Soviet documents on Latin America, coming from a source the CIA calls Trigon. Karl translates them from Russian to English, and then he tells the KGB handlers exactly what's in them. The KGB look at the documents Karl described and know exactly who the mole is. Ogorodnik has no idea. For months, he keeps photographing documents, but the KGB is watching him. When they finally make their move, they arrest him in Moscow. Ogorodnik asks to write down his confession with his own pen. This is the same pen that the CIA gave him, but hidden within the cap of that pen is a cyanide capsule, put there by Ogorodnik's insistence for a moment exactly like this. The CIA allows it. He takes the pen, grabs the cap, pulls the cyanide capsule out, and bites down. Death is almost instant. By 1976, Karl Kocher has been inside the CIA for 4 years. He thinks he's untouchable. But then, the phone rings. Prague wants him back for a meeting with the KGB. Karl flies to Czechoslovakia and walks into a room with Oleg Kalugin, head of KGB counterintelligence. one of the most powerful men in Soviet intelligence. Kalugin tests him. He slides a photograph across the table.
That was a very simple investigative trick. You show your interlocutor a picture of someone and say, listen, I forgot, what's his name, by the way? Well, you know his name. You'd expect your partner to immediately mention the name. And I was amazed. Kocher would not know these people. I gave him another picture. I said, listen, this picture, well, here is one name you gave, but how about this one? And he would not remember again. Well, that made me feel, well, weird. I thought, well, Jesus, what's going on? How come he gave us these pictures? He put the names of these people on the back of the picture. Now he doesn't even know, doesn't remember. Who put the names of these individuals? Maybe it was someone else. Maybe it was the CIA. Maybe he's at the CIA plant. These thoughts inevitably, came to my mind, and I felt a little uneasy with this man.
Karl fails, and Kalugin is done with him.
I am, as a director of foreign counterintelligence, see no reason why I should continue to trust this man and expect some results for him. When they kept telling me that I was an American agent, I said, well, in that case, the CIA would, of course, be looking for me. And it seems that argument worked. So eventually they let me board a plane to Vienna.
Karl flies back to America alive. Barely. But his days at the CIA are also numbered. By 1977, the CIA suspects that there's a leak within the department and they start to restrict access. Then, they quietly let Karl Kocher go. No arrest, they just show him the door. And Hana? Her cover's never blown, not once. Nobody looks at her twice. But in 1981, everything changes. The FBI opens an investigation on Karl and Hana Kocher.
They had his car bugged, his home bugged, and Hana's place of business bugged for 3 years.
How they got tipped off is still a mystery. The Soviets say Kalugin sold Karl out to sweeten his own defection. The FBI say they stumbled onto Karl while surveying another STB officer. The truth is still classified. By late 1984, Karl and Hana are making moves. They tell their neighbors they're going back to Europe. The FBI sees this and panics. 3 long years of surveillance and their targets are just about to pick up and leave the country. So they make their move. The Friday after Thanksgiving on November 23rd, FBI agents confront Karl. They offer him a deal.
They promised me immunity should I cooperate with them. Not only immunity, but that they would let me leave for Austria as planned. The CIA man even offered me a contract.
But here's what Karl doesn't know. The FBI has no intention of letting him leave the country. Believing he's about to walk free, Karl moves fast. He buys 2 tickets to Zurich and books a room at the Barbizon Plaza Hotel near JFK. 4 days later, on November 27th, a few hours before their flight, Karl and Hana step out of the Barbizon Plaza with their bags. Instead of a car to the airport, a fleet of FBI agents is waiting.
A Czechoslovakian immigrant who allegedly infiltrated the CIA and acted as a double agent for 19 years has been arrested in New York City.
We were swapped by 50 police cars, so it was a tremendous show. Police jumped all over us and said, "You are arrested."
Karl is placed under arrest for espionage. Hana is detained as a material witness, a tactical move as they don't have enough to charge her. They interrogate her. She asks for a lawyer, but they don't give her one. They keep questioning her, trying to flip her against Karl. She doesn't say a word. A week later, they put her in front of a grand jury to testify. But she still refuses. So, the judge hits her with civil contempt and she's hauled off to jail.
Were you involved in passing on your husband's secrets to the Czech intelligence service?
I will not answer that. I will not produce here an evidence against myself. I would be stupid to do it.
Both Karl and Hana spent over 400 days locked up in American prisons. But the FBI had a problem. they fucked up. Carl's confession was given after his interrogators promised him immunity. You can't promise a man freedom and then use his own words to lock him up.
Now you have a CIA employee who is an agent of the Czech intelligence service, and you can't prosecute him, and you can't double him. Now what do you do?
And Hana was denied access to a lawyer despite asking repeatedly. That's a violation of her rights, and the Justice Department won't charge her. The case is dead, and as the FBI really had no other options, in an extraordinary turn of events, they agree to a prisoner swap with Moscow. Karl and Hana Kocher are swapped for political prisoner Anatoly Sharansky. Karl and Hana move back to Czechoslovakia, no longer spies. They live quietly outside Prague, still married today. Karl Kocher was one of the only intelligence agents to penetrate the CIA from the inside. But he wasn't the worst. There was another mole who penetrated the agency and did way more damage. As a result of him, 10 CIA assets were executed and another 25 were imprisoned, and they had no idea who was doing it. I made a video on this topic, and you should watch it right now.